Hey up and welcome to another bike review out of Appleyard Motorcycles in Keighley, and today I'll be taking out a bike that's been well and truly off my radar. It's this lovely little Husqvarna Svartpilen 401, a KTM 390 Duke in smart clothes, some might say. So yeah, we'll be taking this bike out shortly and I'll let you know what I think of it. In the meantime, get yourself up or down to Appleyards in Keighley here, part of the MotoGB group, so you're guaranteed pretty much the best deals in the business. A massive amount of stock, both new and used, from all the major brands, and plenty of demonstrators too. So get yourselves up to Appleyards here. Very friendly, very knowledgeable, very welcoming staff. Okay, so let's jump aboard the Husqvarna Svartpilen and see what all the fuss is about, eh? Right, so here we are then, the Husqvarna Svartpilen 401, and the other bike is the Husqvarna Svartpilen 401. So it's a little bit like the Triumph Scrambler 400 and the Triumph Street or Speed 400. You know what I mean, the difference between the Scrambler type and the road type. And about the same price, about £5,500 this bike, same as the Triumphs. But in my humble opinion, a far more individualistic looking bike this. And yes, quite nicely stylized. So yeah, of course it's a KTM. The vast majority of the bike is KTM. Certainly the engine's the KTM engine, and same suspension that you'll find on the 390 Duke. But apparently the sort of construction of the frame is slightly different on this to its KTM sister. And of course Husqvarna, a Swedish name, and Svartpilen means black arrow. And Svartpilen, the more road-focused version of this bike, means white arrow. So without further ado, let's take a ride upon the Husqvarna Black Arrow. Okay then. Quite a bijou little thing. It's an 820mm seat height, but quite narrow in the waist, so with a 32 or 33 inch inseam I am comfortably flat-footed. Sort these mirrors out. That's okay, that's okay. The mirrors are excellent. Yeah, very clear view either side to the rear with the mirrors. So let's fire her up. Lovely 5-inch TFT there. And I have to say the rather familiar sound of KTM engine. Whether they're a single, a parallel twin or a V-twin, they all seem to have that. It's very hard to find an adjective to describe the sound of the KTM engines, other than if you were blindfolded you know exactly what you were dealing with. Okay, so looking good there. Yeah, TFT and some gubbins here and the normal gubbins there. We'll have a look at that on the walk around. But feels a nice comfortable riding position. A very light bike, this 160 kilograms. Right, let's have way. and a very tucked up riding position. It's the first thing I've noticed here. It's not uncomfortably so, but pretty tucked up. Off we go. I'll just get a bit of riding under my belt and then I'll talk to you some more. Right, okay, so yeah, the Husqvarna Svartpilen 401, and quite a sporty riding position for a bike of this sort of overall pitch, which is scramblerish. A fair drop to the handlebars, not in the manner of the sporty clip-ons of course, but a reasonable drop. I mean, my sort of arms are about 45 degrees downwards, and at 6'1", that's causing my head and neck to have to be pitched up slightly to maintain a view. If you're a good bit shorter than that, I don't think that's going to be an issue. But I think for my crotchety old neck, it's going to be before too long, but I'm sure that that could be easily resolved with the appropriate bar risers. And I think what we really have to consider in relation to these sort of 400cc-ish motorcycles these days, be they of 1 or 2 cylinder configuration, or even 4, I don't think there's many of them. I think it's the way of the future. I think it's the way that we are going when you consider things like the cost of living, the ever decreasing speed limits on the roads, particularly here in the UK, the ever increasing volume of traffic, and bikes of this size and power start to make an awful lot of sense, because not only are they very modestly priced in terms of initial capital outlay, but also in terms of running costs, be it insurance, fuel, maintenance, etc, etc. And I think if you're after a little all-round capable and affordable bike which has bucket loads of style and character, this would have to be on your shortlist. And I have to say, notwithstanding that this is a single cylinder engine knocking out 45 brake horsepower, which, let's face it, is only 2 brake horsepower less than the Royal Enfield 650 parallel twins, it's packing quite a punch. In fact, coming up a steep hill there, I was in 5th gear, 5th out of 6, and she was pulling like a train. So packs quite a punch, particularly in the mid-range, very tractable indeed. This here little bike. Yeah, when you consider that, for example, the Super Meteor and the shotgun from Royal Enfield, the 650 twins, are 47 brake horsepower but 240 kilograms, and this is 45 brake horsepower but only 160 kilogram, you would expect this bike to feel a little bit more lively than those bikes. And as I am very, very familiar with the Royal Enfield 650 parallel twins, because I had an Interceptor and I have a Super Meteor and I've ridden all the other bikes in that range, I can tell you that is indeed the case. This feels a good bit more lively. and lovely handling on these here 50/50 tyres. I believe they are Pirelli Scorpion STRs. I'll double check that on the walk around. But yeah, Husqvarna, you might sort of draw a parallel between KTM and Husqvarna with I don't know, not Royal Enfield, Rolls-Royce and Bentley. Essentially the same car, but with a little bit more, dare I say, cachet to be attributed to a Bentley rather than a roller, and a little bit more cachet, if that's the right word, and I'm not entirely sure, to be attributed to the Husqvarnas as against the KTMs. Let's see what this little thing here is like in a bit of traffic, eh? Yeah, my feet are well tucked up here. It's not uncomfortable, but noticeably tucked up. A compact, sporty riding position. Fueling's absolutely fine. We'll just bimble along here. Yeah, we're not bucking and weaving or coughing and spluttering or jerking about, so not an awful lot wrong with that there fueling. Yeah, make a cracking commute of this. So, proper steep hill here. GoPro won't do it justice, but it's really steep, and we're absolutely flying up in third. And indeed fourth. So, bags and bags of usable torque from this little engine. Yeah, lovely on the bends there. Lovely sweet turning. I tell you, a surprising amount of usable power for a little single 400. Lots to play with. Now this bike comes as standard with a Quickshifter, so we'll try that out when we get on top road. And the suspension coping really well with this, as with all roads these days, suboptimal road surface. A lovely, flickable, highly manoeuvrable, entertaining ride. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with the performance of this here bike. Don't be thinking for 1 minute you're going to get something that performs like the Royal Enfield Classic 350 J Series singles. And I love those bikes, as you well know, because I have a Classic 350. But this engine is in a different class altogether. So we'll try the old Quickshifter up here. Right, let's have a go. 2 to 3 to 4 5 6 Yeah, cracking little quick shifter. Down, 5, 4, oh, even better. Yeah, I think the downshift's more impressive than the upshift. Now, the combination of a lightweight, nippy little bike like this with the amount of torque that this engine puts out for a single, and the inclusion as standard of a quick shifter and auto blipper downshift make this a very, very entertaining little bike indeed. I don't think you're going to need to worry too much about your overtaking power with a bike like this. I'll just find an appropriate gap. Yeah, no worries at all. Sometimes with lower powered bikes, and it's certainly the case with my little classic 350, is that overtakes like that have to be more carefully planned indeed, because you won't necessarily find that you have on tap that extra surge of power should you need it. If, for example, the traffic oncoming is a little bit more lively than you expected it to be. But with this, just give that there throttle a bit of a twist and you've got that extra power on tap to whip you around. So no issues there at all. It's a lot of fun, this. I'll tell you what, if you're into your cobweb bursting, depression blitzing, entertaining, spirited ride outs of a weekend, this'll do it for you. £5,500, this and the Svartpilen, both the same price. There's no extra to be paid for this, the more scrambler orientated version, whereas of course with the Triumph 400s you're paying a bit more for the scrambler version. Not so with these little Husqvarnas. Quite a firm seat, which is a KTM thing, but not necessarily a bad thing. And they're pretty comfortable all round. And all I would observe is, and this is more to do with my arthritic neck than out else, is because I'm having to crane my head up a little bit to maintain a view of the whole road ahead, because of how relatively low these bars are, that's giving me a little bit of discomfort in the neck, but that's easily put right, I would suggest, with bar risers or whatever. And I suspect that this bike, in terms of, well, who's it for, who is it going to appeal to, I think it is more likely to appeal to younger riders. It is of course A2 compliant at 45 brake horsepower. It's A2 compliant, and because of its quite stylish presentation. It's gonna appeal to either younger riders or to older riders who are still young at heart, like me. I'll just try the brakes there. Back brakes, sort of average. It's nothing too spectacular. Nothing behind front brake. Oh yeah, front brake's plenty keen. Should be a pretty decent range on this bike too. It's a 13 litre fuel tank, and this is a very frugal engine, and so 200 miles of range on a tank of fuel should be easily achievable. And you get a couple of riding modes with this as well. So obviously it's fly-by-wire, and you get street and rain riding modes. It's currently on street, and obviously on rain the throttle response will be dampened down a little bit. You also get lean sensitive electronics, traction control, ABS and the rest of it, which is pretty good spec electronics wise. And you also get switchable ABS and traction control. How's about that? Right, let us explore the true nature of the poke of this bike on this here de-restricted stretch, and we'll use the Quickshifter. Woohoo! Hey, pretty good, pretty good. Up to 60 in a breath. And that downshift is incredibly smooth. Right, let's suss out the suspension on the world's most undulating road. You know what, it's pretty good. In fact, it's very good. Yeah, that's better than an awful lot of bikes that I've brought up here. Right, let's do the old walk around. Right, okay then, let's have a walk around, and starting off with overall impressions of how the bike presents itself. And I don't know if you agree with me, but I think that's a very modern looking design indeed. A sort of little smattering of retro combined with the modern angular ruggedness of 21st century bikes. And I think that, in terms of appearance, is a far better looking bike than either the Triumph 400s or indeed the KTM 390 Duke. Yeah, very, very impressive figure this bike cuts indeed. So let's talk about some numbers. And suspension first. At the front we've got WP Apex 43mm inverted forks, which are adjustable for preload and rebound, as I hope you can see there. So that's quite premium spec then, that, isn't it? And 18-inch wheels, sorry, 17-inch wheels, correction, 17-inch wheels, and sporting here Pirelli Scorpion STR 50/50 tyres. And yeah, they should get you over most of the nadgery stuff that you might encounter. Brakes, there we have radially mounted twin pot caliper operating on a 320mm single disc, and plenty of bite from that front brake there. At the back we have a 240mm single disc with a single pot caliper. Got a hugger going on there, we've got a double-sided swing arm, and the suspension at the rear is the offset single shock absorber that you can see there, which is also adjustable for preload. And spoked wheels on this, the Svartpilen, and cast wheels on the Svartpilen. The engine there, well, we've got this 399cc liquid cooled double overhead cam single cylinder engine, and this engine puts out 45 brake horsepower at 8,000 RPM and puts out 39 Newton meters of torque at around 7,000 RPM. And a very punchy, pokey, eager engine that is indeed. We've got a bash plate here as standard, which is metal. A decent amount of pillion space for a bike of this nature. Just wait for these lucky people going on holiday to pass. We're right near Leeds Bradford Airport. And wherever they're going, the weather's got to be better than it has been here. Right. The lights. I love these lights. I mean, it's a very similar headlight to what you get on the Husqvarna Norden 901. I love that that sort of amalgam of an old retro shape with modern LED lighting. A little bit of a fly screen going on there, so LED headlight indicators, tail lights, all LED. Very smart. Yeah. Fuel tank is 13 litres, so should easily be capable of at least 200 miles of range. What do you think of the colour? Sort of matte grey going on. Let's have a look at the TFT. And what we have is a digital readout of speed in the middle. Then we've got a linear readout of RPM across the middle there. Bottom left we have range to empty. Bottom right we have engine temperature. There we have the fuel gauge, your normal warning lights at the top. And all navigatable via these four-way switches here, which allow you to adjust the throttle setting and the ABS and traction control settings, and as I said earlier, two throttle settings, street and rain. So nice and clear 5-inch TFT there. Otherwise the rest of the layout is fairly standard. We've got adjustable brake and clutch levers, and it's a cable clutch. Yeah, I do like the look of this this bike. I think it cuts a very impressive, purposeful figure indeed. Cracking. So let's take a look at me seated upon this bike. Right, so I am 6'1" with a 32 going on 33-inch inseam, and the seat height on this bike is 820 millimeters. So as you can see, I'm flat foot and almost straight legged. So it's a sort of medium seat height, but should be suitable for most riders. I would suggest here, no issues. The actual riding position, as I said before, it's pretty tucked up, but not uncomfortable, so quite sporty. And as I was referring to early, for me, the bars are a little low. So this sort of angle forces me to crane my head up thus to see where I'm going, which is a bit like a sports bike really in many respects. But again, I'm sure you'll be able to get some bar raisers and bring these bars up to suit. But that's just me. But I think, you know, this bike for me, it's all about individualism. I think if you want to cut an individual figure when you're out riding and you're in the market for a bike of this sort of size and performance, this is about as stylish as it gets. And of course Husqvarna, to my mind, have always been at the cutting edge of design when it comes to the way that the bikes are presented. Certainly more appealing to me than the KTMs. Yeah, so if you're in the market for a bike around about the sort of 400cc size, and you want something that's quite stylised, stands out a little bit, speaks a little bit to your individuality, then this could well be the bike for you. £5,500, and excellent performance for the size of the engine, excellent handling, cracking good looks, very reasonable running costs, I would have thought, in terms of insurance and maintenance and all the rest of it. And yeah, it's a bike I'd be happy to own, certainly. It'd make a perfect commuter, without a shadow of a doubt. Nipping in and out of traffic on this bike would be an absolute doddle. It's got the diminutive size and the relative power to be able to do that with ease. But equally, as a weekend scratcher, bags and bags of entertainment to be had on this bike. It really puts a smile on your face when you start opening up that throttle, making full use of the Quickshifter and whipping it round a few switchbacks. Highly entertaining indeed. So yeah, I am impressed with this bike for what it is, particularly at that price point, that £5,500 price point. And it's something I'd be happy to own. What more can be said? So if you want to ride this bike, this demonstrator from Appleyards, get yourself up to Appleyards Motorcycles in Keighley. You can ride this bike, and I think, like me, you'll be impressed with its power and performance, and in the flesh, the style of the bike and the overall presentation, very pleasing to the eye. Yeah, cracking bike. Right, so in conclusion then, who's this bike for? Well, it's a bit hard to pigeonhole it. It's for anybody who wants it, really. If you're limited to an A2 licence, it's A2 compliant, and I have to say, if you've just passed your test and you jump on one of these, there'll be more than enough power to keep you entertained. It's got plenty, and a very entertaining ride indeed to be had on this little Husqvarna. But if you're for example at that time of life where the old bones are playing up a little bit and you want something a little bit lighter and more manageable and more economical, but you haven't completely parted company with your contract on the exuberances of youth, and you still want to maintain a little bit of style and street cred, this would be a great option for you. I mean, at 160 kilograms in weight, light as a feather really. Very, very easy to manoeuvre. And very lively indeed when you get this bike up and running. And for a bike of this spec to come with a fairish suite of electronics and a Quickshifter as standard, that represents a very, very attractive option indeed. And as I said, I think really the space available for bikes of this sort of size and performance will become bigger and bigger within the marketplace, because they make more and more sense as time goes by, particularly in a country like the good old UK, where increasingly large, very powerful bikes are becoming something of, shall we say, an indulgence, if not an increasing irrelevance. But this bike will top out at just over 100 miles an hour. Not that you can do that legally on the public roads here in Blighty, but it does have the wherewithal to be able to reach those sorts of speeds. But we'll cruise all day long, 70-80 mile an hour, this, no problem whatsoever. Yes, if I were to sum the bike up as succinctly as possible, I would say affordable, stylish, and a heap of fun. And therefore it only remains for me to thank Appleyards for the loan of this bike. Thanks in particular go to Kieran for sorting out all the paperwork and getting this bike ready for me. Thank you, Kieran. And yeah, if you want to take this bike out for a ride, I think you'll be surprised and impressed in equal measure. So get up to Appleyards and ask to take out the demonstrator for the Husqvarna Svartpilen 401, this here bike. It's a little cracker. So until the next time, ride safe, be kind, and I'll catch you soon. I'll see thee.